some of that planning for the future, as we started with in our first episode, also has to do with doing things that you want to do now.
Right.
So multiple buckets is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about, the concept of doing a little bit of a couple of different things as opposed to only doing one thing, right? So, we talked earlier about how it would be very easy for a financial advisor who doesn't know your situation to say, well, you got to save $10,000 a year or you're not doing anything, right? But how helpful is that, right? Much more common is for me to, very early on in a new client relationship to understand, like the first thing I do with clients is to say, what do you want to do with your life? What's important to you? And we literally just list out like, I want to send my kids to college. I want to retire roughly at this age. I want to do fun things while I'm working. And part of my job is to help clients do a couple of different things at the same time, more than one things at the same time, so that they can achieve these multiple different goals, right? So you don't necessarily need to only save for retirement each year. You also can at the same time set aside money for education planning and set aside money so that you can do a fun family vacation. And part of my job, and I think about budgeting or setting spending plans without guilt, is allowing clients to live their life and do the fun things that they want to do along the way, so that they're incentivized to keep sacrificing and saving for things that are coming down the future, many years in the future, like retirement or college planning. So I actually think it's really important to be able to do the fun things that keep you energized, even as you're sacrificing for the future.
And the fun things, as you said earlier, give you that insight to, hey, this is what it might look like.
Yeah.
And really, and those fun things, because we fish, was my Alaskan fishing trip, right? And then it made me think, okay, so what else can I do without hurting myself down the road?
Right.
What other types of, cool things, Yeah. And I think that's important to have that fun.
We talked earlier about the way I got starting in fishing, doing a trout fishing trip on the Savage River in Maryland. And my journey since that time in fly fishing has almost exclusively been all about how do I replicate the feeling that I had when I was standing knee deep in cold water in May in Western Maryland, the mountains of Western Maryland. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to go spend a bunch of money, although I've described for you some things that I love to do that cost money. But I love trying to replicate that in our local bass and bluegill stream.